Well, here it is, guys. Back in the shop, pretty much all put back together. I've got to put the door sill plates in and the rear seat. I've got one of the plastic panels over in the sink over there, scrubbing, cleaning, door jambs. Yeah, you know the drill. We're getting ready for the final cleanup and then delivery of the old green OBS truck. Had somebody the other night talking like, hey, you should show everything that you did. So yeah, we're going to try to do that and put together kind of a compilation video of all of the work that went into this thing just for you all. So, you know, when this truck came in, well, you know what this means, guys. We got a new project come in the shop. Little rust repair on a 97 Chevy pickup. Some people call them OBSs. This one's kind of cool, Z71, and it's a 5-speed. You know, we've got a little light body damage here with a hair of rust, and then a hair more rust down here. So you can see in the bed, we've already purchased sheet metal. It's been a while waiting on old Hogshooter to get to it. You can see the primer's kind of faded on there. You guys, I'm glad you're here. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. Well, all right, guys, you can see I got my parts for this side laid out. Just thought I would talk 1 second about them. So inner structure, and then cosmetic panel that you see, and cosmetic panel that you see. So we got to get in here and we're just gonna go to town, do a rough cut. Oh yeah, the fun of the old moldings. Should probably just trash them, but we're gonna cut them off like I don't know, like 1999. Yeah, cut them off like it was when they were new. Yep, there you go. All right, so you know you're working on a good old boy's truck when you start taking it apart and you got you a half a box of 22 shells off in there.
He went black.
Yeah, it's fine. It's still recording. It's just the screen goes to sleep. Save on battery. Okay, man, that was a long one. There you go.
Yep, let's get going, cat.
All right, I think in the last little clip we were just getting started removing stuff. I saved you guys the time there. All I've done is cut, clean, and do a little fitting. I am going to end up reusing this whole backing piece here. I went through and cleaned all the rust out. We're going to neutralize that and spray us some magic stuff on there. I also got the backing for the front running board rocker panel all cut and fitted up there where it'll go in nice. We have a little section here where we got to do a little butt weld. Well, all right, guys, now you can see we got our stuff welded, ground, a little bit of cold galvanizing primer put on there. It's nice and dry, and then we're starting on our next piece. And I've got a nice tight fit up here at the top, so that when my rocker lays on here, it will not have any kind of interrupted stuff to mess up my door gaps, because all that is cumulative. If you're off back here, it just keeps stacking up as you get toward the outside of your sheet metal. Now, back in behind here, I've chosen just to put a lap joint in here. So I'm going to lap the metal over, and I don't know if I'll 100% weld it or just stitch it together. And then back here, I have my holes marked so that I can drill my plug weld holes. I've also got to get on the creeper and mark them under here, because I don't want to drill holes where there's a cutout for a drain or something like that. Someday I might get them, but the law never will. Check her out down here, guys. Got that cinched off. Holes. Got a little weld to, I guess you call that weld, bubble gum to grind down a little bit. I've already ground or knocked down the heads off of the stacked dimes there so you don't cut yourself. I'll spray all this outside good with cold galvanize, and then on to fitting this piece. Tapered out a little bit more, and then around the back we've got we're just cut to right here, so we've got to do some more trimming and get it up a little bit more higher, and then get it to where it'll fit back in here. This thing is barely big enough. I think it's just maybe a tad bit short, so it kind of crimps itself up on there. We'll make it all fit, but we've got to do some worky work there. And when I pushed it up on there so hard, it knocked this stuff out of alignment. It's not bad. We're just off a little bit. It's kind of worried about down here, and that fit between this panel and the rocker panel, because yeah, they're not OE panels, guys. These are rust replacement panels, and they fit how they fit, because every one of these panels is aftermarket. No, we're not. We aren't terrible, are we? Oh wow. I wonder how long that's been like that. That could be why our welds look like crap. Get that stuff fitted. The big thing was this piece. They don't repop, and it needed some rust repair. We got that done. This is all fitted up in here all the way up to this corner was the last place that we needed to do a little fitting. We put the door back on and made sure that it would shut okay, and our gaps look good. So yeah, we just got to go back and do our finish fitting. Then we got to do our protection to keep from burning the truck down, and then we'll burn the panels onto the... All right, so I showed you my trick with the drill and cleaning the E-coat and the weld-through primer off. Now, how about taking this and like squishing that hole flat? And then I can put it over there and I have a perfectly tight fit now. I did clean the back side of this panel, but it's just always, there's a little bit of distortion there. And I like to have 2 pairs of vice grips forward of where I'm going to be welding. You know, I'll only weld this plug weld hole and that plug weld hole, and then I'll come down for this one and I'll crimp it all up, smash it flat. That way our whole seam is nice and tight underneath there. Since we got it all welded up and ground down and everything is going to be like sandwiched underneath stuff, we're going to go ahead and give it another little coat of this cold galvanizing compound. Works good as your weld through primer. All right, after many hours of grinding and fitting, we've got our rocker panel is tack welded in place and our cab corner has the final fit. And I mean, I don't know if that shows up on camera, but we've spent a little bit of time here to try to get that gap like as small as possible. The only issue I'm coming up with is back here at the back. This panel's a little bit short, so I am going to tack the front corner and possibly come back here with a little pocket screwdriver and pry that out a little bit. Try to close up our gap just a small amount and tack that in. It's good here, but as it comes around the corner, we're off maybe the thickness of a piece of sheet metal, so it's not bad, but we can always get it better. Well, there you go. After we got that done, we got a good fit up here on our door. The gap's good and everything. Now, like I said, it's time we got to crawl up underneath this thing and spend the rest of our lives welding overhead, filling up these plug welds. And everything was ground on this cab corner section, so we went ahead and just schmoozed a little filler on there and got it knocked down. It has some low spots in the middle of it, but not bad at all. Most of the stuff is just little pinholes and glaze kind of stuff. And then I have this all cleaned and prepped and ready to apply filler to next. And we're still working on grinding all of these down, but we'll get them ground pretty quick. I mean, you might ask, why don't you grind everything at the same time? Well, if I can get filler wiped on, it has to dry. While the filler's drying, I grind welds. That kind of thing. You just can't grind right beside where your body filling or anything like that. I've got areas cleaned up and ready to wipe that are close together and out of the way of my grinding. So, hey, let's get her done. We'll mix up a little Bondo and yeah, here we are, friends. The old Rage. I think it's Rage Extreme, actually. It's pretty good body filler as far as body filler goes. It's just this stuff is left over from another project. We'll probably have to have the customer go and buy some new materials when we get ready to really do a lot on the old truck. But for right now, we're just gonna schmooze with the old stuff and bad. Well, all right, let's call the painter. We got here all the body work done. Filler work's all sanded with 180, metals with 180, so we get good adhesion. And all that's left is to cover this thing up with plastic, and we're gonna prime pretty much that whole cab corner from here down, the whole rocker up into this lower hinge right in here. And then we'll take and we'll jam inside of this later so we can put the door back on paper. I did leave my plastic up much higher because what we're going to do is we're going to prime this, we're going to sand it around where the bodywork is, and then we're going to prep up on those jams to blend the color clear, burn in the clear inside the jams. Common practice, it's what we need to do. I'm not working on this all the time, so I want to get it primed and the bare metal all protected. Well, all right, guys, here we go. We're going to spray a little primer on this thing. Woo, less air pressure. There we go. That's in about the right realm. So, cheap Amazon PPS cups, or these plastic disposable cups, they work super good. And then just going to go in, and really this is just to protect the bare metal so we're not priming the full panels, okay? Yeah, there we go. All right, so nice. You see how it's all on there, right? Yeah. So there we go. We'll let this dry, and then we'll come in and we'll hit it with some high build. There's still enough in here. I'm going to spray the rest of what's on this gun on there, but I got to give it about 20 minutes to flash off good because epoxy dries super slow. And it's not really highly warm out here right now. So there you guys go. We got our bodywork primed. I mean, you can come along here and look at it. See what you got. In there, everything looks pretty cool. In here, everything's pretty cool. And down here, all underneath it. Yeah. So that's what it takes. Side is pretty much the same, but it's a different day. And we got this little feature here, a little bit more severe rust in some areas, but I mean, it's still the same stuff. We're gonna have to cut this, replace the bottom half of this. We got to get it out of the way first so we can get behind it and replace that piece. Yeah, because there's some multiple layers coming together, right? That's all rusty back there. It's got to be replaced. This piece is mildly rusty, so probably going to need to replace it too. We'll get this up into good metal. Get this up into good metal. The issue is this little piece here, because the cab corner, you see, I've already cut off. So the cab corner goes and it wraps inside of the jamb. This piece continues on, and it is the inner right here. Our rockers, they only come up so far. So we've got to be really careful how we cut this out and stuff, and we'll do the same thing we did on the other side, just as minimalistic as we can. We just have to drill spot welds and be really careful because it's crunchy too. We're going to have to rust repair it and weld it back into the vehicle. Luckily, it's just a small strip down at the bottom there, I believe, if I'm remembering right. Man, look at that. The layers of crust. Yeah. Nope. Yep, there we go. Little spot weld busting bit. I like this nice flat bit to slide in between panels and cut them out. Yeah, either one of them will work. You just got to use them. All right, so here you go, guys. I just go through this thing, and as I'm fitting it up, I make sure my edges are 100% flush. And you can see it's not a perfect fit up, but it's pretty darn close to it. Back here, I ended up with a little bit of a gap, but hey, if I was gonna have a gap, this is back where I would want it to be. All right, so this is, I'd say midway, but this is probably 90% of the way, at least on this seam, all welded up. You can see it's ground down too, so I'll weld this much, and then I'll pull out the grinder and I'll grind it, and then I'll go back and I'll weld. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see where you still need to weld and where you already have welded. It also helps get rid of any of those humps from your previous welds so that you don't cold lap anything. Well, kids, we did really good up here. Things were kind of weird, but we got this done. Yeah, but then I don't know what in the world up here, but boy, I knew it was coming, and it was to get this rocker to fit, but I don't know. I cut it sitting tight on top of itself. It should have cut clean, but it didn't. Anyway, got some TIG rod here. We're going to lay this in, hit it with the MIG gun, weld her up, and grind it down. It'll look good when it's all done. It's just, you know, to show the good stuff. This is real. Well, here we go. Got the, whoa, dang, sorry. Got the Bondo glass here, short strand fiberglass reinforced filler for all the weld seams. Fill all that stuff. This actually turned out really nice looking. It's pretty good. The very front up here, you know, it was just all about getting a gap in between the rocker and the door. So we'll schmooze a little on there, make it look good. But yeah, we need to get this stuff mixed up, spread up, so we can get it drying. Yep, you guys know how these old Chevy pickups, they always have a low spot coming down here and one back here. Well, got a dolly slapper. I've already kind of poked out on it a little bit and got us things raised up. Now I'm just going to come back and kind of flatten that out a little. Alright, with that little bit of metal work done, now we are mixing more of the fiberglass reinforced filler. I just try to put this over the top of any of my weld seams. It just is more water resistant than body filler is because it uses the glass fibers for filling, and body filler uses talc, which absorbs water. So anywhere I have a weld seam, I try to go back over it with this stuff. I didn't have any epoxy mix or anything. A lot of times I'll spray epoxy over my bare metal before I wipe this on there, but hey, it's going to be fine. We have pretty good access to the inside of this part to be able to waterproof it. So yeah, there you go. Well, all right, here we are. It's super late o'clock, but we got all the body work pretty much finished out. I did 180 and get rid of any bad scratches, then 320'd. So now we can prime, and our overspray, it's all going to stick on 320 grit scratches. That'll keep those scratches from showing up later. And yeah, everything's kind of done. We're just going to prime basically cab corner, rocker. All right, we come out here first thing this morning and blew some primer on the epoxy. Just like all my other stuff, we'll let this dry for probably about an hour. It's pretty cool out this morning. 72.3. So that means that this product on the tech sheet, at they're 70 degrees, they want 30 minutes before you top coat it with anything. So this being epoxy, we want to give it plenty of time. It'll stay open for days. So we'll give this about an hour, come back out, hit it with 3 coats of high build primer. Yeah, that's right, more scuffy. All right, that's what we call it. And all there is just more of it, you know. All right, here we go. I'm going to purge the cartridge. And by the way, you can see we're just using a self-leveling seam sealer, which kind of sucks for going up underneath here, but we'll be able to pump it in there and just clean it off as it tries to run out. It gets dry pretty quick, and it's about 90 degrees here right now. So, plenty warm. I just like to gun out a short bit there, make sure we got a good mix. Take this. This stuff will last for about 5 minutes without messing with it. Maybe less today because it's really warm. We just lay down here with it. Got it taped off. I should show you fellas how I've got it done up. So we get clean lines. We're just filling this dude up. Yeah, try to make it look decent at least. Like I said, it's taped off down here, so when we pull the tape, it'll be a nice clean line. Just get the surface smooth. You do have a limited amount of time to play around though, Bobby. It'd be nice if you could make that look good in one wipe across there. I could stand just a hair. Right in there. Yeah. You know it. So after that initial application, toss the gun over to the side, wipe your finger through it. Wait for it to just start to set up before you pull the tape. Once you get started pulling the tape, you're committed to dealing with whatever happens. So I've got wax and grease remover right here, a rag in this hand, gloves, keep this stuff off of me. Just kind of pick this tape off wherever we can and go with it. Hit it, wax and grease remover, get it on your glove, wipe your glove up through it, pull it tight first. Back off jack, let it dry. Seal the rest of it and you're getting closer to painting it. Like a genie should have popped out of this sucker by now as many times that I've rubbed on it. Yeah, you know that feeling. You gotta resurrect that tack rag you had from 1998 or something. Yeah, she'll be fine, boys. I think we got it. Blow it off, sealer's right here. Let's do this. Yeah, don't go celebrating yet, but it almost looks like we fixed something here. Yeah, I gotta get after it. Got stuff to do, places to go. Alright, sorry about the fan noise. It's almost necessary to run the fan 24/7 here right now because it's really hot. And you gotta maintain the airflow on your paintwork, fellers. So at any rate, yeah, all the colors done. So getting ready to put the PPE on and mix clear. Just some good stuff, Roberto. Standard hardener, nothing super slow, nothing fast. One, went up number 5 with the clear coat. That's in that 2 column. Next is the next 5. Yep. Using that G5 double knot 5, the good stuff, I guess. Yeah, that's what we got. It seemed like it worked last time. Everything was perfectly fine. Oh yeah, yeah, that's running. Oh, we were going to that 5, weren't we? Spray booth engaged. Learn how to do paint and body. They said, it'll be fun, they said. Just an old car. It's relaxing. Whatever. Get her done. Move on. I enjoy it. Most of the time. Well, I tell you what, I appreciate all the prayers and everything over that. That thing is like dirt free, almost. I mean, you know, we do have NASA certified fans up here and stuff, so Mother Nature filtration out back. Bass anglers around Oklahoma, be careful. I just saw Jimmy roll out with the Bass Tracker 5000. He's fixing to go take home the money, boys, so watch out. Right here is where we stopped. So we had approximately 400 milliliter, yeah, 14 ounces mixed. We still got, dang, 200. So wow, yeah, we wasted a good bit right there. Sorry, Mother Earth. If you've worked on any of these OBS trucks, you know that pins and bushings need to be replaced every time, just about. I think this one is maybe like the 3rd set. Hey, at least you can replace them. Go in with this one. Ooh, fits tight. Okay, and the next one's on the actual hinge on the door. Today, we're going to talk about aftermarket parts and how much fun they can be. Yeah, and what a pain in the butt they can be, right? I mean, we just expect everything to fit like it's a new vehicle, and well, it just doesn't happen that way most of the time. You got to do something, right? The nice thing about this aftermarket fender, all the clip holes were in the correct spot, so made it easy to put all the original clips back in and get it ready to go on the truck. You know, these things are pretty simple to take off. Just got a little tab in the middle you lift and they'll slide out of the holes. So preliminary fit, we're only going to put a couple in there because yeah, lots of bolts and having to take them all in and out to make this thing try to fit the truck. So there you guys go. At this gap, look at how far off that body line is. It's like about 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch too high on the fender. Our gap in between the fender and the hood, it's not horrible. But it could always be a little bit better, right? Just want a nice, consistent gap. So I just have a giant chisel and a very large hammer. And just pop it a couple times up here. Don't hit your hood and mess stuff up that you've worked so hard to fix. Okay. Give her a little innard action. You know, you got to do what you got to do. So, we're going to get that little hole right there. We're going to make him a little bit bigger size. Be super cool if I can get that light to shed a little bit of light where you can see. So we're just going to cut that out just a little bit. bit bigger, a little bit longer going back this way. That'll allow the fender to slide forward. Okay, now we got to have a little corrosion protection inside of that hole. There you go. Lined up. Grab our bolt. Grab a couple of bolts maybe. Yeah, you know. Yippee. Bolt in the very back hole inside of here. Come on, darling. Oh yeah, it's like a little bit different now, isn't it? Man, that body line is still like not giving us no love. That's gonna be a trip. We can do it. I felt it happen right then. Pretty easy up here. We'll just go in a little bit. All right, so now you can see she's pretty good all the way back. I mean, that's a tolerable gap. Finger doesn't go through it. Let's go there. And then now we'll work on this. Got to do that from probably the very bottom bolt. Let's try that. All right, we threw us a shim in the very bottom. Got our gap kind of going. The bottom of it is set where it's going to kind of be. There's still some movement there, but we tighten that thing all up. Now, for the in and out here, I'm going to use I call it a spoon. All right, we're just going to use it for a little leverage here, kind of help us move this fender out where we want it. Now I'm trying to not do all my adjusting in one spot. Give it a couple of digs here and there. Now you do lose some of this nice gap you got there when you're pulling this out. You know, unfortunately, it's just aftermarket parts. And I try to get the fender at least even with the door. So tools are going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to start out with 80 grit DA paper, like 6-inch sticky back DA paper. You know, I'm in the process as I run out of stuff. I'm going to start transitioning to Velcro paper just because it's a little bit more expensive, but it's reusable for a long time. The sticky back stuff, once you tear it off, it's pretty much trash. All right, so that's probably as much sanding as anybody wants to watch. You did see, like, I'm just trying to take the clear coat off. You see it in there all chalky. You noticed with the camera up close that it just almost peels it right away. And then as soon as you bump the green, you're down to this factory sealer. Under the factory sealer is a high quality primer down there. And since this is not peeling, there's no other signs of damage to that primer. We want to try to leave that, you know. Well, I hope this time is the charm. Third time, right? Usually good. This wouldn't be a proper video without a little body filler mixing, would it? Spreading some mud, putting some icing on it, giving it the glass, yeah, whatever you call it. Mix it up good, no matter what kind of body filler you're using. Just quit playing with it. That's when you usually mess up, you know. Sun's in the other side of the deal now. Yeah, we're on the downhill swing. Anyway, we got all our body work is good to go. Everything's finished out with 180. Now we go, with your hand, a little piece of sandpaper and sand over the corners. And what we'll do is we'll tape right on that corner for our primer so that when we're sanding for our paint job, we can sand our primer line out by just sanding that corner right there. And yeah, that's the way that's done. But I'm trying to just make sure and be diligent about getting all that old clear coat off of every bit of this. And just that little piece of 180, it'll knock it out pretty quick for you. Yeah, need to put some tape on this molding before I start sanding up close to it. We did a good job with that DA, bro. We got almost everything knocked down. So we got the roof done, the hood's done, this door's done. Oh yeah, and I fixed a little spot on the back of the cab. Well, all right, guys, I'm sorry that I don't even think I pushed the record button while I was in here doing too much of this taping, but hey, here we are. We've got it all stuck down, and it is plasticed off good, so we're not going to overspray too much stuff. I was going to try to cover up things that, like, I just don't want to get any overspray on, you know? That's kind of the whole purpose of masking. So, same thing as typical deal, bare metal protection, Omni MP172, 175 catalyst. We're going to just spray that on our bare metal areas. Actually spray it on the full panels of the hood and the roof, and then the door doesn't have too much bare metal. The cab corner doesn't have too much. I haven't waxed and greased that yet because this takes 20 minutes to incubate. So we're going to give that 20-minute incubation, and then we'll go in there and we'll wipe everything down.
Oh, bad body work.
there you go. Took a, I think it's supposed to be like a mount you can clip onto a strap. Zip tied it onto a PPS cup. Bam! Got us a point of view camera for the spray gun. Yeah! Alright, so you can see the result there. And this is just my corrosion protection on this thing. I'm going to come back and put high build primer over the top of this where the bodywork is. But I'm not going to cover the whole thing with high build primer. There's no need to high build this whole hood when we just have bodywork here at the front and one little spot over on the other side. Same way with the roof. There's not much bodywork toward the front of the roof. It's all at the back. We will look over it, make sure there's no little hail dents or dings that are going to show up. And we'll just high build the areas we have to, but we're going to wait till later on tonight because I put 2 coats of this on. And it needs to dry for about 12 hours at 70 degrees. It's gonna be 100 degrees, so it'll only need to dry 4 hours, something like that. So we're gonna straighten this little bit out and then we'll get this thing in so we can do some cutting. Yeah, get you guys set right there. Front row seat for the action. Hook, it's been butchered down a little bit narrower than the factory settings. Just don't want to smoke it to Alabama first hit. Take her a little easy there, bud. Okay. It's kind of putting a few little high spots there. We might need to try to move this corner over here a little bit. I don't know what that's going to entail exactly. Okay, we got her. We got her. Get a hammer. Okay. Oh, yep, the lip is bent flat down in there. It's gonna act like a one-way valve. Come on, sucker. Don't. We're gonna replace them. I just don't want to ruin that one where I can't use it to test fit it. Bottom edge needs to go back up. There. Yeah, you guys better get all your safety gear on for this one. Just going to cut down right below where the outer wheelhouse connects. Cut through, follow the body line around. Yep, just got to do it. Put the whole thing in and go. So I did hop in and I cleaned all of the flanges off inside of here. You guys can see back there, I knocked the strip of metal off that was left on there just by grinding the spot welds thin and then air chiseling. And I think I'm gonna have to get the sandblaster out and hit these little reinforcements for the bed and put it away from that. We can do a good job of rust proofing this from the inside since most of that bed is reasonably accessible and it'll live a long time. I am using more of this, and the part that I really hate is cutting across that body line, welding it and having to finish that out. That is going to be a pain in the butt, but I'm trying to get out of as much of this corrosion as I can. And there's a bunch of damage here. There's also a bunch right here. I'm going to rough all that out before I weld that new piece in and get it as straight as I possibly can. All right, so yeah, here we are. Okay, so what I've got now is this thing is clamped where the body lines are straight, and I had cut this off just above this body line, so that is straight. And now we're going around with a scribe. You know, you take a old car antenna, you're scrapping her, steal that thing, cut it off, grind a point on it. Man, they are super tough. You can drive holes in sheet metal with these. But we're using it just to mark our cut line. So there is what our scribe line looks like. And you can tell, man, there's a lot to cut off of this thing. Pretty happy with it. I'm still on the fence whether I'm gonna cut and butt or if I'm gonna use a flanging tool and flange that. And it's only lapped maybe 1/8 of an inch. So not bad at all. I got the corner back here lined up really nice. This body line here lines up nice. I don't like this, but it is what it is. We're gonna have to deal with it. Back here, I tried to section out past where this body line naturally comes down to make the filler a little easier to work. I definitely want to butt weld that. This is already set up to butt weld here. But I think for the long run down the middle of this, I'm going to get the flanging tool out and crimp that thing and then... Alright, so first place we're going to tack is right here on this corner. She's lined up nice and crisp there. Figure that'd be a good start point, as long as we can keep everything from slipping around. It's in there really good. What my plan kind of is to get this tacked in about every inch. You know, working my way through. By the time I have it tacked in 1 inch, I'm going to try to take this inner wheelhouse out so I can grind and I can hammer and dolly and finish this weld seam out a little bit. I know flanging, like everybody's going to squeal about that, but you do what you're comfortable with when you're doing this stuff. I'm going to make a little slight adjustment to the old welder here because we were welding up some thick stuff last time we had this dude fired up. So we'll probably burn a few holes in here. I mean, guys, if you're gonna start, like, weld you some practice stuff, you know, just for a general plan and idea. Come on, darling. Okay, there we go. Right there in the corner. Oh yeah, that's nice. Looks like a big old turd on there. So we're gonna go ahead and kick the heat up. It's actually set in the 14 gauge heat range right there, which seems kind of excessive. All right, there's you more welding than you want to do, but it's all done except for the very bottom on this side and putting a little plate down where the bed support bolts to in the bottom of the bed side. Yeah, a lot of grinding. Just beating the dents out of your Z71. Mix it up good, fellas. Mix it up good. No lines, uniform colors. Smash that stuff in there good. Yep. You do your part, it'll do its part. Isn't that cool how I saved that Z71 decal? Whew, I mean to tell you, we got in tight with her, but I think it's gonna live. Be able to save that puppy. Thin coats. We were here, gone a little bit further because I cut the other side out and I have welded it in, ground it, got that fiberglass filler on like the other side, and then I've come back and smoothed it out with a grinder, white body filler, sanded. You know how the world goes around in the body shop business, so it's just a lot of sanding. It's not the best content, so I don't record a lot of it. I did cut that whole other side out in a long block. Yeah, you guys, can you even see that? I mean, ridiculous, right? This little bit of 80 grit, short Durablock. I think this is 11 inch maybe. And everything's guide coated. I did block along this edge, made sure it was close. And then I'm just getting artsy fartsy with it, guys. Kind of sculpted out here. We're sanding body filler off instead of putting it on, right? That's got to be a good thing. And honestly, that's not bad for a beginner. Hey, let's wipe some stuff on this weld seam here. And there's the stuff. Buy it at O'Reilly's. I don't know. If you buy it a quart at a time, it doesn't go bad sitting on the shelf. I just found myself doing enough repair with this crap. I've used 2 quarts of it in the past 3 or 4 months. So I should have bought a gallon. It's always cheaper to buy in bulk with this stuff. So we're going to add some hardener. I'm not going to give you any recommendation there. Just use enough that you know it's going to get hard. And with this stuff, you can mix it with your plastic spreader pretty easy. I'll just take it and I'll stir it up with a stir stick a little bit. People say that whips air into it and you end up with pinholes. This is just covering a weld, and then we are going to go back and coat it again. We already know that. And I don't do all the mixing and then slob it on there with a stir stick. I'll mix it the final bit with the good old plastic spreader, pushing all that air out. So just like anything else, paints have mixing ratios, and these products have guesstimation ratios. It's fairly cool here right now, so don't have to worry about it setting up on us too fast either. You know, if you can plan ahead, you put it on before you leave one evening, come back the next day, she's good and dry, you're able to sand it up. Mixing cream you prefer, add the appropriate. Yep, dang it, Jimmy. Battery died in the camera, and then homie just gave up on recording a video for you guys apparently. So we got this thing sanded down, pretty much first application of body filler over the top of that fiberglass reinforced filler. You can see some of it poking through here. You know, that's just right over that weld, and then we start blending it in with the body filler. And apparently I just left it a little high there, so when I started blocking that down, it started showing up. Bobby the Body Man has finally got the body work. We'd say a good 80% there. I did get it over, and the transitions front and back of this thing were just slightly off. I mean, we could have fixed it with primer, but I went ahead and just put a light coat of glaze on there to be able to block that out and make it work. Well, all right, let's just take this roll and we'll start out down here. About ready to get this thing primed? I know I am. And butcher wrap this sucker up in some white masking. We got a lot of dirt on here, so we're going with the 2 wipe down method. Yeah, I'm gonna hose it down pretty good on here, wipe it off, and then I'll probably wipe it off one more time just to make sure we got it clean. Look at that. Just look at that, would you? And I blew this off right before I turned that camera on. So, yeah. And you can kind of see what you're gonna get, even with the old wax and grease remover on there. So there's after 2 coats of primer on it. Not too bad. I mean, you can expect to have a few waves, but not a lot of stuff to have to worry about blocking out or anything. Now I am going to put one more coat of primer on it. Just to be clear on that, it needs 3 good wet coats every time you put high build on. You should do that. This side's just a little bit wet. It's pretty cool out here. So we're going to give this stuff some dry time so we don't have issues with it. Gun clean. We've got our couple coats of epoxy on here to protect the metal, then 3 wet coats of high build on top of that so that we have something to block sand. It's nice using that contrast of the black and then the light gray on top of it. So when I'm sanding this, I know when I start to see black when I'm going through, yeah, I know when to stop before I hit bare metal. Now, I want to take you guys to this place of checking millage. So this X-Tech mill gauge, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on here so it can power up. This measures how thick paint film is, and this particular gauge will read on steel or aluminum. Powered up now, and we're going to check here a couple areas, maybe 3, 4 of them. We got 7 mils right there. I'm going to move down. There is 687. So what is a mil? Well, a mil is a unit of measure used to describe paint thickness or the thickness of a film on something. So here we're 545. So that's basically, I want to say 5.5 thousandths of paint on here. 1 mil, 1,000th of an inch. That is pretty crazy that paint is that thin, right? Well, all right, guys, we're going to start out hitting it hard here with the spray gun because, well, I think I had a bad memory card, but like I had recorded masking and doing little bits and pieces, getting this ready to start going, and here we are, we're dropping straight in with the base coat color. So I can't make up any excuses. Just enjoy this, man. It's some pretty cool spraying and showing some young guys, you know, that next generation, how to get it done. So enjoy the video. Hit it, maestro! over to the other side. Call that your first coat. You're out. Well, there you go, guys. It's shiny and green. That's what we've been after for a good while now. Everything has been in here for a good amount of time. Super nice to be able to spray in this environment as opposed to out in the hog barn. We probably eliminated about 3 days worth of buffing by doing it here. And I mean, what could be cooler as a high school student or a young adult to be able to come in and somebody's done all the hard rust repair and Bondo work and the blocking and got it where, I mean, these guys, they just basically had to go give this thing a light sand and a little scuff on the edges and clean it and mask it up. And here we are. And like you can see, I mean, I sprayed some of it, but they did a majority. I had 3 different students that worked on it. I mean, any of those students could go out and get a job in the collision business. Or what we got going here, man, this thing turned out great. We did use like the Omni black epoxy sealer first thing, then we put the color on there. That was just that prime base coat. And then what I used, Omni clear coat on it. Yeah. I switch back and forth on some of that stuff. It's just like what has worked for me in the past and what is most affordable. I think all in on this, from the body filler to the final clear coat, there's about $1,200 worth of material in between sandpaper. The base color itself was like a little over $500 for that gallon. So stuff just really adds up when you're trying to do this. And you know, in a video, tractor paint might look this good, but there ain't no tractor paint out there that's going to last as long as this or look as good as this is going to look out in the sun or, you know, in the garage or cruising at night. This is going to last for years, and I can stand behind it. Where tractor paint, you know, you get what you get, and you know, you might pitch a fit, but ain't nobody gonna listen because you painted it with the cheapest crap you could. All right, guys, we got this thing out of the booth, up on the lift, and taking care of something I probably should have done right after I welded these pieces in. But we're going in and brushing epoxy on, cleaning up, and doing the corrosion protection side of all the repair work here. So we did just brush this epoxy on. It is dried for a good amount of time. In the next clips, we are going to start using seam sealer to caulk in where those pieces are welded together, just to keep moisture from going back in it. And then later we're going to spray the wax oil stuff inside of these holes to prevent any corrosion. Just trying to seal it up with a little bit of seam sealer. Give it a nice disappear a little bit. All right, sorry for the flickering light. You know how that stuff goes, but here is the inside of the cab corner that we welded in there months ago with epoxy primer on it to provide corrosion protection. That's the first layer. Then the next thing we're going to do is put the wax oil in there. Some people call it cavity wax, just to prevent rust later on. Yeah, so we're going to get this thing back on the lift, raise it up, and spray a little truck bed liner on the back sides of these rocker panels. It smells a lot, huh? Looks like it's working. Can spraying, coating it up, just to put something on top of that gray epoxy. There you go. View of the back side. You guys can see what I can't back in the very back there. We've sprayed epoxy on our welds on the back side after I kind of scrubbed on them and cleaned them up a little bit. This helps seal everything off. And I mean, when I sprayed it, I ran it down in the bottom of the cab corner. I figure we're trying to keep the thing from rusting out. It can't hurt. Did spray the bottom of that cavity full of cavity wax. And then I'm gonna put this 3M rubberized undercoating straight from O'Reilly's over the top of that epoxy to make sure that we got plenty of coating there. Might even run some of that down in the bottom of the cab corner. Do that, vacuum, rear seat install. I don't know, it's about 11 at night, but I want to get this thing put together. We got another one coming. All right, body filler board from the Falkenstein Thrash project. You guys ought to check that video out if you haven't. And it's some of the last stuff that we do. Or at least I do. I should not speak to others' work habits. Cleaned up pretty good. Next up, got to go and pull that little metal clip out, put it back in the plastic panel, and slip the panel in here. Now, this is the good part here. Well, there she is, sitting outside in her dusty brilliance here. I did get everything put back together in the interior. It all looks nice now, especially considering the age of the truck. Of course, that just caught. Yeah, very cool. Replaced a bunch of stuff on this truck and getting ready to send her down the road. So here's just some good stuff. For instance, you can see like paint looks pretty good. Got a little bit of rust bubbling up above that molding. Look at that fender. When I took the molding off, that's like through both sides. Yeah, that was why we replaced them on the truck. The old tailgate handle didn't work when it came in. You had to open the tailgate with a screwdriver. Now, it's not bad. Opens, shuts, latches, bumper fits good. We had all this thing apart. It's just crazy how far you take one apart to do this kind of job. But yeah, new pins and bushings. I mean, the door like opens and shuts all that hard now. So good shape. believe that one's done. Now it's time to do some tinkering with this one here.